Have you ever wondered why some people always seem to be ahead of the curve? Why they invest in the right things, at the right time, while everyone else shows up a decade too late? It's not luck. It's not insider information. It's not magic. It's timing. And timing is everything. Because every decade, without fail, a tiny handful of opportunities appear. Opportunities that take normal people, people with average incomes, people with no special connections, and turn them into millionaires. The 1980s had real estate. The 90s had the internet. The 2000s had emerging markets. The 2010s had smartphones and social platforms. The 2020s, well, we're living through those shifts right now. But here's what nobody understands. By the time the average person realizes an investment was a good opportunity, it's already over. By the time it's mainstream, by the time it's on the news, by the time your co-workers are talking about it, the wealth has already transferred to the early movers. That's why this video matters. Because the next decade is shaping up to be one of the biggest transformations in human history. Economically, technologically, geopolitically, socially, and with every massive shift comes massive opportunity. But only if you know where to look. Today, I'm going to show you the 5 investments that are set to explode between now and 2035. The ones that will mint the next generation of wealth. Some are obvious, some are hidden, some will shock you. But all of them share one thing in common. They are at the very beginning of their growth curve. And if you position yourself now, before the world catches on, you give yourself an advantage most people never get. So let's get into it. But first, a warning. Most people think the best way to protect their money is to avoid risk, to hold cash, to keep everything in savings, to wait and see. But the last few years proved something the wealthy have understood for decades. Avoiding risk is the biggest risk of all. Inflation punished savers. Technology punished slow movers. Interest rates punished homeowners. The market punished people who hesitated. We are entering a decade where standing still means falling behind. And while everyone else is waiting for the right time, the world is already shifting. Your job, if you want to build wealth, is not to predict the future. It's to position yourself so you benefit no matter how it unfolds. These 5 investments do exactly that. Investment number 1. Artificial intelligence, the new industrial revolution. Let's start with the obvious, because ignoring it would be financial malpractice. Artificial intelligence isn't a trend. It's not hype. It's not temporary. It's a transformation on the scale of electricity, on the scale of the internet, on the scale of the printing press. AI will rewrite every industry: medicine, finance, education, transportation, manufacturing, marketing, security, law, entertainment, you name it. And here's the part no one is ready for. AI is still in the earliest part of the adoption curve. We are not in the mature growth phase. We're not even in the rapid expansion phase. We're in the pre-explosion phase, the phase where companies are experimenting, governments are scrambling, regulators are clueless, consumers are unaware, businesses are unprepared. This is where the biggest money is made. Not when everyone understands something, but when almost nobody does. And here's the secret. You don't need to invest in individual companies. You don't need to pick winners. Because AI isn't a company. AI is infrastructure. It's the backbone of the future. Invest in the picks and shovels, the companies building chips, data centers, cloud systems, and computation power. This is where the real explosion will happen. Investment number 2. Energy transformation, the power shift. Every decade has a theme. The theme of the next decade is simple. The world is running out of cheap energy. And that changes everything. Energy isn't just a sector, it's the foundation of every sector. No energy equals no production. No energy equals no transportation. No energy equals no digital economy. No energy equals no civilization. That's why global energy is the single biggest investment theme most people ignore. But here's what makes the next decade different. We're not just using more energy, we're changing where energy comes from. Between now and 2035, the world will accelerate. Battery technology, solar storage, green hydrogen, grid modernization, new nuclear, rare earth metals, energy-efficient chips, electric fleets, carbon capture innovations. And here's the part most investors don't realize. The companies that win this race will dominate the next 50 years. Just like oil companies dominated the last 50. The shift has already started, but the explosion hasn't hit yet. When it does, it will be global. Investment number 3, biotech and longevity, the health revolution. If AI is the brain of the next era, biotech is the heart. We are entering a decade where science fiction becomes reality. Think about these breakthroughs, curing diseases that were once lifelong, growing organs, reversing aging factors, genetic editing, personalized medicine, AI-designed drugs, synthetic biology, lab-grown tissues, mRNA beyond vaccines. This is not speculation. This is happening. And the money flowing into biotech is staggering. Here's the secret wealthy investors already know. Longer life expectancy is the biggest financial trend of the century. Because the longer people live, the more they spend. The more care they need, the more they invest, the more innovations they demand. Longevity isn't just about medicine, it's about economics. And the companies solving these problems will explode. That's the first 3 investments. 2 more, including the one most people have never even heard of, are coming next. You now understand the first 3 explosive opportunities of the coming decade: AI, energy transformation, and biotech. Those alone could reshape industries, economies, and entire countries. But here's the much bigger truth almost nobody sees. We are not watching the rise of a single new industry. We are watching the reconstruction of the global system. Money is changing, energy is changing, health is changing, technology is changing, resources are changing, and only a tiny percentage of people understand what that means for their financial future. Because the final 2 investments on this list are not just opportunities. They are inevitable outcomes of everything happening around us. Let's continue. Investment number 4, digital assets and the financial system reset. Most people still think digital assets are risky. But you know what's actually risky? Relying on a financial system built for a world that no longer exists. The system we use today, the way we send money, store value, move wealth, and settle transactions, was designed for a world before smartphones, before AI, before globalization, before e-commerce, before automation, before the internet exploded. We're using outdated tools to manage a hyper-connected digital society. And that mismatch is becoming impossible to ignore. That's why every powerful institution on Earth is quietly shifting into blockchain-based financial networks. Central banks, launching digital currencies to modernize their economies. Global banks, moving settlement onto blockchain rails to eliminate multi-day transfers. Investment giants, creating digital asset products for institutional investors. Corporations, tokenizing real estate, commodities, and even equity. Logistics networks, tracking goods through immutable ledgers. Nations, using blockchain to escape currency instability or failing banking systems. All of this is happening while the average person still thinks crypto is just an investment. But digital assets aren't just investments. They are becoming the new financial infrastructure of the world. The key is timing. And the timing is now. We are past the wild speculation phase and past the massive crash phase. We've entered the most profitable phase of any technology cycle: institutional adoption. This is where the world transitions quietly, while prices remain relatively low, and early believers get rewarded as the system reshapes itself around them. The explosion happens after adoption becomes invisible, not before. This decade will turn digital assets from a niche into the foundation of global finance, and the people who position themselves early will benefit the most. Investment number 5, hard assets. The world returns to what matters. Now we shift to the investment class that is older than money itself, hard assets. And here's the powerful trend the world is waking up to. The future is digital, but the value that supports the future is physical. We are entering a decade defined by scarcity, and scarcity always rewrites wealth. Just look at what's happening. Global inflation cycles refusing to settle. Historic levels of national debt. Political instability rising across continents. Energy shortages and grid failures. Supply chain disruptions. Increasing demand for minerals and metals. Water scarcity becoming a global threat. Nations competing for natural resources. Currency devaluation accelerating worldwide. In moments like this, wealth doesn't move into tech stocks or savings accounts. It moves into things that cannot be printed or replaced. Land, farmland, energy reserves, water rights, copper and lithium, gold and silver, rare earth elements, timber, agriculture. These are not old-school investments. They are the foundation of survival. And survival becomes the foundation of profit. That's why the ultra-wealthy are accumulating hard assets aggressively. Bill Gates becoming one of the largest farmland owners. Nations buying gold faster than at any time in 55 years. Private equity acquiring forests and mineral rights. Energy giants locking in future resources. Investors shifting toward commodities and strategic metals. This is not fear-driven investing, it's strategy. Because as the world transitions into electrification, digitization, and AI, the physical resources required to build that future will become more valuable than ever. And here's the secret most investors overlook. Digital assets will dominate the new financial system, but hard assets will dominate the new economic system. The smart investor doesn't choose one or the other. They understand the synergy. Digital assets equals mobility, speed, global flow. Hard assets equals stability, scarcity, long-term security. This combination isn't optional, it's essential. Why these 5 investments are the blueprint for the future. These 5 investments form a complete ecosystem of the next global era: AI, intelligence, energy transformation, infrastructure, biotech, longevity and health, digital assets, financial architecture, hard assets, real-world value. Everything else is built on top of these pillars. They're not trends. They're not fads. They're not hype cycles. They are the structural foundation of the next chapter of human civilization. And people who invest in foundations don't just grow wealth, they build generational wealth. Why most people will miss these opportunities? Not because they can't see them, not because they don't understand them, not because they aren't capable, but because they hesitate. They wait for confirmation, for safety, for permission, for a sign that the risk is gone. But when the risk is gone, so is the reward. Every technological wave follows the same pattern. 1. Early skepticism. 2. Sudden hype. 3. Violent crash. 4. Quiet adoption. 5. Mass integration. We are in Phase 4 for every major investment on this list. And Phase 4 is where early believers become wealthy. Not because they're lucky, but because they're early. The world rewards bold preparation, not perfect timing, not guaranteed certainty. Preparedness is what creates fortune. If you understand these 5 investments, you understand the next decade. And if you position yourself ahead of the curve, you won't just survive the changes coming, you'll thrive from them. AI, energy, biotech, digital assets, and hard assets aren't optional categories anymore. They are the blueprint for anyone who wants to build real, lasting, unstoppable wealth. This is your moment, your advantage, your window. Don't wait for the headlines to tell you what's happening. By then, the opportunity will belong to someone else. If this opened your eyes, drop a comment below and tell me which investment you believe in most. And if you want more content like this, hit subscribe. Your future wealth begins right now.